Hey everyone, welcome back to the Decaf Bubble. This is a podcast about creativity, and I am Abby, your host, the creator of this podcast. Welcome to my world. So, this episode is going to be about a mindset shift that I think is super important for us all to consider as artists. I'm just going to jump straight in because it's fresh in my mind, and I'm just hoping that I can really articulate what I've been thinking about and why I think it's so significant. So if you think about it, creativity is just a series of making decisions. And I think in the same way that creativity is making decisions, life is just the same. It's just making a series of decisions. And we all have this inner true self, this guidance within us that can make those decisions with us, for us. I mean, it is us making those decisions, right? But not everybody is aware of that part of us. A lot of us are disconnected from it. A lot of us were disconnected from it at a young age, or slowly over the years just kind of tuned it down, turned the volume down of it. And, gradually it got replaced by all these other factors, all these other opinions, these awarenesses of other people that kind of taint that true expression. And the expression comes from that connection to your own inner voice, to your own, real taste and your own real pleasure for making. But obviously, we're constantly exposed to the ideas and the opinions of others and the tastes of others. And so I just really think that, another way that I often talk about it is as an artist, you have to be the center of your own universe. You have to be the one who's kind of the sun in your universe, who your light is the thing that is lighting everything up and shining on everything. Your taste is what's dictating. Your opinion is what's dictating. Your experience. And it's such a subtle thing, that part of you. And it's so subtle, in fact, that sometimes we actually don't realize, we're not following it. Because we have these ideas about what we should be making, or how we should be creating, or what our work or our art or our lives should look like. And so we lose that connection to that voice because we become over-identified with this other voice that we don't even realize isn't us. Do you see what I mean? And so for example, maybe your deep impulse right now is leading you in a direction you've never been in before, and it's super random, and you have no idea what the relevance of that is to you and to what you do. But the whole point of creativity, is living on the edge of creation. So when you're truly on the edge of what's been created already and what has not yet been created, you're facing the unknown. So in order to be in touch with those impulses, you have to be comfortable with the mystery of where they're leading you. But a lot of us are just constantly being kind of swayed away from that impulse towards the kind of unknown, because we're just so logical and rational, and we're just what good could that do, or what good could, or what's the use of following that impulse? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't resonate. I can't see where it will lead, so I'm just going to kind of stick to where I've been, or the territory that I'm familiar with. And that's what stops us being artists. I'm sorry to say. I'm I'm sorry to break it to us, but the minute we stop following those impulses, I think is the minute our artistry dies, like our creativity dies, and we cut off that like life force. And I think you can go for a while without realizing it. And I also want to say, I think there are a lot of artists out there who are commercially successful who are not actually following those impulses of their own guidance, who are not connected to it, and maybe they were at some point, and maybe that's why they're successful now. But they're not actually embodying their true artist. They are just an artist in the commercial sense, and that's like not what we want. I'm not trying to shade them. I'm trying to say that that's not what they want. I'm trying to say, like, that's not what any of us want, because that is like soul death, like not following the impulses of your true self. Like, that's what makes people feel empty inside and crazy, and like that's why, well, there are many reasons, but that's what I think one of the reasons that artists have traditionally had like mental health and like drug issues and all of that kind of stuff, because when you find that connection, it's like exhilarating, but if you don't know how to sustain it, or if you suddenly have too much success or attention and it causes you to be unable to find that connection within yourself again, you feel lost. And so I feel really passionate about artists and people, all of us. I don't think that this is exclusive to artists. I think this is like true of everyone. It's the living your own life, it's living your own creative life that belongs to you, that isn't for somebody else. But I'm just so passionate about us finding that connection. And it's really a spiritual process, and it's like a practice, and it's something we have to dedicate ourselves to, and we have to I guess, give it the importance that it deserves. And so that's, I guess, why I wanted to talk about that today. It's just a little mini rant, mini lecture about that mindset shift. It's really a shift of like how you live your life, but I think it's something that I have had a huge journey with myself, because I've always been creative my whole life, but I would say it's only like the last 2-3 years that I've really discovered this truth, like on an embodied level, and just actually, I'm going to do a whole episode where I kind of talk you through like my actual story with this, because I think I spent so many years just kind of trying to become this image of who I thought I should be as an artist, and it wasn't that I was completely disconnected from my true creativity. It's just that I wasn't listening to it for long enough to actually get into a flow with it. And I feel like I'm at a place where I'm practicing that, like I've put it at the center of my priorities. I'm not measuring the success of myself as an artist by outward success anymore. I'm measuring it by how connected I am to that flow, to those impulses, to following those impulses, and like sustaining my capacity to follow those impulses into mystery. Because it's interesting, but it's like very ego destroying, because the ego is like got this idea of who you should be as an artist. And so I'm going to tell that whole story, I think, in another episode, but I just wanted to do a little mini episode on that today. I mean, I imagine that most people who are on the creative path like really know what I'm talking about, and I guess my one intention for this episode is just to kind of like recenter that in all of our consciousnesses, because it is a process of remembering and forgetting. There's this book called The How by Daly Ward, who's a really beautiful poet, if you don't know of her already, but she wrote this book called The How, and it's about the how of creativity. And she's got a whole page in the book that just says in capitals, remember, forget, remember, forget, remember, forget, remember, forget. And I just feel that one so deep, because life is just a big journey of learning these things, forgetting them, remembering them, forgetting them, remembering, and so on. And so I hope that this episode reminds you that the only way you can ever be a true artist in a way that's going to satisfy you and deeply fulfill you is getting in touch with that inner voice and letting it lead your whole life. Just letting it have its way with your whole life and just seeing where it leads you and just really being open to it. And I think part of that as well, I want to say, is just trusting yourself, trusting your taste. Really figuring out what is your taste? What's your preference? What do you like? What do you actually want to do? What actually is fun to you? What actually lights you up? Not what you should do. Not what would look good if you did it. And again, this is why this applies to anyone. It's not just for artists. What do you actually want to do with your life? What do you actually want to create? That is not necessarily, for me, if I'd asked that to myself 5 years ago, I don't even know if I would have really answered from a true place. I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, I think we're all doing our best at whatever stage we're at. But I really think, the deeper I ask that question, the more my ego's idea of who I am as an artist, falls apart. And something just more interesting and intangible and magical emerges to replace it. So, yeah, I'm going to leave you with that image. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you feel like you resonated with it, send me a DM. I love hearing from people who've listened. My Instagram is decafbubble. And one last plug, if you're really interested in diving into these topics in a small, intimate, personal, creative circle with creative women of different backgrounds, Cocoon is running for a second round on the 15th of April for 6 weeks. It's a weekly creative circle. It's so fucking amazing, if I do say so myself. We meet up once a week on a Monday evening in Southeast London, and I really feel like it's a unique space. I don't really know if anyone else is doing a circle like this at the moment in London, or I haven't come across it anyway, but it's such a special thing to gather with women who are creative, but are from all different creative backgrounds and experience levels and just everything. Everyone brings such a unique perspective, and it's just such a nurturing space to really connect with that inner voice. I mean, that's the whole purpose really for me of Cocoon, is that it's a space to connect with your own creativity, away from the noise, away from the online space. Just a space for you to reconnect with you, and do so in the company of other women who are doing the same. And it's just such a privilege to be able to do this. I absolutely adore it. So I can't wait. It's starting on the 15th of April, which is in just over 2 weeks. Probably 2 weeks when this episode comes out, actually. So yeah, if you're interested, send me a DM on Instagram, or the link in my bio also will give you more details and sign up and all of that stuff. So I'm sending you so much love, and see you in the next episode. Bye!